So I bought the Z8 in 2011. At the time it was 85,000 and values had kind of bottomed out really at around 60 to 70,000, I'd say 2008-9. New they were, I think, between 80 and 85,000. So when I was buying the car, I thought it would, not necessarily from an investment point of view, but I thought it was a good time to buy it. I've always admired the styling and I had a feeling that values might start to creep up, so I wanted to get in one before that happened. Also, being left-hand drive, very rare in the UK. I think only a max of about 90 or 100 cars at one point, and now there's about 70, because as soon as people in Europe want a good example, they come over here, buy one, take it back to Europe, so a lot have got exported over the years as well. A lot of people find it interesting because it's not really a sports car. It's not a typical BMW in terms of handling. You're obviously sitting quite far back, you've got the long bonnet, it's not easy to see the turn in, etc. So it's definitely a cruiser, but stock, the ride, as I think quite a few reviews have said in the past, is not great. It came with pretty firm run flat tyres, so a lot of people have changed those for just kind of regular tyres. So what I wanted to do was sort the car that I could keep it long term whilst maintaining the originality. So what I've done is changed the suspension. It's been slightly lowered, but improving the ride quality as well. The wheels are the 20-inch Alpina wheels that came with the Alpina Special Edition, which I think suit the car. They feel the arches better, and they also really suit the interior kind of retro design. I've had a full Super Sprint exhaust installed as well, because the stock exhaust, whilst nice, was very muted. It's got the old E39 M5 engine, so it sounds fantastic when it's got a great exhaust in it. So I've had it, I bought it was about 30,000 miles. I've just gone past 51. I've done a couple of road trips in it. It's been over to Europe, it's been to the Alps. It's a fantastic cruiser. You can sit all day at decent speeds on the motorways in it. A roads, absolutely fantastic, like through the Alps, pretty brilliant. Obviously in the UK, it's slightly flawed being left-hand drive, so visibility is not as good, etc. But once you get it over into Europe, it makes a lot more sense. It's just a kind of cool car. People will stop and actually look at it if they're walking in the street. They come up and ask about it. A lot of people don't know what it is. So from that point of view, I like it because it's unusual. It is very pretty in the flesh. Obviously, there's not a straight line on it, so when you see it, it kind of doesn't really look like any other car. Obviously, very retro. It's very in tune with the current design theme of what people like in terms of, interiors and stuff. So I think people see it as being a kind of a future classic from that point of view. And it also has neon lights in the rear, in the brake lights and the indicator lights and the front indicator lights. The reason BMW did that was to try a different technology, and supposedly the lights were good to work for 50 years without needing changing. I don't want to get in it and drive it hard because it's not that kind of car. You get in it and you want to kind of cruise somewhere whilst making a good noise. It's that kind of car. For me, it's definitely a keeper. That in 2013, so yeah, 6-7 years ago now. I had a Z4M coupe back sort of 5 or 6 years before that, and at the time I was kind of torn between buying CSL and a Z4, and I think I regretted a little bit not going for the CSL at the time. Whilst the Z4M, great car, absolutely loved it. Obviously manual, for me, because of the short wheelbase over kind of UK B roads, it felt quite bouncy. Whereas the CSL stock setup is just amazing. Stock suspension setup is really well sorted. It corners very flat, great on track, but also rides potholes, bad B roads extremely well. It's totally stock apart from slightly up-rated like brakes and brake pads and stuff, but apart from that, totally stock. It was a car that I thought that, you know, obviously is limited. I just love the look of the E46 M3. I think it's a great looking car. Last of the 6-cylinder M3s, obviously. It was that limited edition side of it. The fact inside, you know, it's just, you know, Alcantara and carbon fibre. It was the first car that BMW used a lot of carbon fibre on, so there's quite a lot of interesting things about it, and it just sounds amazing, like the carbon airbox in the front. For me, it's unusual. It's not just about exhaust, it's more about the intake noise. I haven't driven the CSL as much as the Z8, I have to say, because it is a very low miles example, so kind of I don't want to put, you know, thousands and thousands of miles on. I've done probably about 10,000 miles since I've had it. It's still a reasonable amount. I can make sure it gets out there and gets driven, but yeah, I've had a kind of eye on the mileage a little bit. Do you know what? I don't really compare it at all, because it's just a completely different car. It's definitely not a cruiser. You get in it and you want to drive it hard. It needs to be revved like any of the other E46 M3s, so it really begs to be driven hard. So it's kind of a car that you get in if you're in a slightly different mood. I think it is something that I would swap out at some point for a similar, you know, GT3 RS or something that is, you know, more track focused. Yeah, so not necessarily a keeper, but I do realise it is definitely an iconic car, and it's just a fantastic car to drive.